Recording. Okay, hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to go ahead and get started with this, with our webinar. It's right at noon, and so we want to be respectful of everyone's time. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got 4 students and one of our, and our interim director of the Emory LGBT Life office that are here today with us. And my name is Emily Lakemaker, and I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment and Student Life here at Emory. Just a few logistics up at the top. Number 1, we are recording this, so if you want to go back and rewatch anything, we'll have this posted on our YouTube channel, usually within about 3 to 5 business days after the live event. And I usually send out an email to everyone that's registered with the link on how to find it once we get it posted. So you can look for that here within the next week or so. We will be taking questions. So at the top right-hand part of your screen, up in this area, you should see a little icon and be able to type in your questions in the questions section. So feel free to do that throughout the webinar. We'll go through our initial presentation first, then we'll read aloud all those questions and allow our panelists to go through and give their insight and their answers. We don't really have too many slides actually prepared for this today. We wanted this to be more of a time for open forum, for you guys to have the opportunity to talk with the students and staff that are here to get their insight and experiences. So I think with that, we'll go ahead and get started and move on forward. So just feel free to type in your questions as you have them. So you can see here what we're going to be covering today. I think we'll first let Danielle speak about the Office of LGBT Life here at Emory. Then a few of our students will talk about some clubs that we have here and groups that are specific interest groups for the LGBT students. We've got one that's specific to Rollins and one that is more broad within the professional and graduate schools here. We'll talk about some upcoming events that you can get included on if you're wanting to learn more about Rollins, and then we'll open it up to discussions. So moving on, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Danielle and allow her to talk about her office and what they provide.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle Steele. As Emily said, I am currently serving as the interim director for the Office of LGBT Life as well as the Center for Women here at Emory. Both of those offices serve students regardless of the school. So we serve the college as well as Rollins and many of the other graduate and professional schools. I wanted to go over a few of the major things that I thought that, or the bigger activities, events, programs that we host and put on each year. So you kind of got a better understanding of what all we offer. One of the bigger programs that we have going on is the Safe Space program. That is a 3.5-hour educational program that's open to anybody in the Emory community. But it's really about developing allies and developing safer spaces for folks around campus. Lots of people participate, including students, and we focus on awareness, knowledge, and action in those. Those are our goals and our objectives. We also have a physical space in the Dobbs University Center that includes a lending library, a meeting space, as well as computers and a printer that many different students kind of use for different meetings, including our queer discussion groups, which you'll see listed. Those change from year to year, but they're open to both undergraduate and graduate students. We have queer men, black and queer, transforming gender, bi, pan, queer and Asian. New this year is an asexual, aromantic group that kind of lead their own discussion each week. And so those are some of the offerings. They're all in the evening, and they're about an hour long. They're peer facilitated, and so that's another opportunity for graduate students to be involved. They can also apply to be facilitators and be co-facilitators for each of those groups. We also do a series of networking events. The one that's particularly relevant to Rollins would be Out in Healthcare, and so that combines all the different health fields, including med school, public health, nursing, and then all those pre-med folks as well, with out practitioners and out faculty members who want to talk about what it's like being in the healthcare field as an LGBT or queer person. We also do awareness events for the larger campus community. This year, for the first time, we did Asexuality Awareness Day. Each November, we do Trans Day of Remembrance. We've also celebrated Bi, Pan Visibility Day, and new this spring, we'll do for the first time International Trans Day of Visibility. We also have a few endowed leadership funds that folks can apply for. Of particular relevance is the Daniel D. Adame Fund. So anyone who's doing research or is going to go to a conference or something that addresses the intersections of health and queer identities can apply and get funding for whatever it is they want to do, whether that's present or travel, do research, etc. And finally, we do community building. So if you've ever wanted to march in a pride parade, we offer that. Atlanta has the largest pride in the southeast in the United States, and so we participate each year. And we also have the Pride Awards, which is celebrating all the great things our community has done and worked towards over the past year. And they happen in March of each year. And this year it's March 3rd.
And when you say the marching in the pride, Emory has a group?
We do. We have a van for anybody who might have accessibility needs, and we turn up the music, and we all have matching T-shirts, and we march through the heart of Atlanta.
Oh, that's cool. I went to Pride this past year. It was great. It's always fun.
It is always fun.
All right, so I think now we're going to turn it over to some of the students and have them talk about our Rollins Queer Trans Collaborative, a relatively new group that has recently formed here. Whoever wants to start.
Hi, everybody. My name's Marcel, and I'm one of the presidents with the Queer Trans Collaborative. Just for some context, Rollins School of Public Health has had a student association for a long time focusing on LGBTQ plus issues, and it used to be affiliated with another school at Emory, and that for various reasons fell apart. And so this year we now have a specific Rollins group that's focusing on public health issues. I'd say in general we're really focused on the social networking and professional networking opportunities, what I'm going to call academic or like journal clubs, panelists. In March, we have a panel coming up on focusing on behavioral health issues related to bisexuality. And in addition to that, as some of you may know, there's a big emphasis on men who have sex with men, or MSM research in public health in general. So our journal clubs tend to focus on women who have sex with women topics, or WSW, as well as trans and the other aspects of the LGBTQ plus spectrum. In addition to that, we are working with the grad coalition, and we'll get to that later. And of course, we know how to have fun. We go out, we have fun together, and meet on a regular basis. Did I miss anything?
Could you maybe give a little bit more details on the social aspects, like some of the recent outings you guys have done? I know you guys just went out, had a big outing a couple weekends ago.
Yeah, so hi everybody, I'm Adrian. I'm also part of the Queer Trans Collaborative. So recently we've had 2 social events. The first was last semester, which was our final event of the semester. We went out just for drinks and a good time, just to kind of get to know each other, chatting ourselves up and all that kind of stuff. Not really a big to-do or anything like that. Recently, a couple of weeks ago, we went out for a drag show, which was a lot of fun because we had some people come out that had never been to a drag show before, so it was fun for them to experience that and experience the general environment of Burkhart's and the drag performers of Atlanta, who are all fabulous. We actually had a lot of people come out, and more than half, I think roughly half of the participants were allies, which was really excellent. It says a lot about the Emory community, especially the public health community here. It was just a lot of fun, good chance to really talk and get to know people outside of your department, as it's kind of difficult to expand outside of your department sometimes just with classes and getting to know people. Yeah, it was just a really good, fun time to be with the LGBT community.
All right, and so moving on, I think Adrian, you could maybe speak to, or whoever else could maybe speak to the latest group that's forming. It's still relatively in its infancy, it sounds like, but it's moving pretty quickly from what I understand.
Yeah, so Marcel and I are both involved with the Grad Student Coalition, which is pretty much being put together by a gentleman at the medical school. He's kind of gotten the ball rolling with that, and we're trying to we're in the formation steps of getting everything put together within the school and possibly getting some funding and things like that to put on larger events within the Emory University atmosphere. Essentially, the point of it is a networking organization within the law school, the business school, Candler School of Theology, Rollins School of Public Health, and I'm forgetting one.
Did we say med school?
The med school, yeah, of course, the med school. We're also looking to expand out into the general graduate community within Emory, ideally including the nursing school as well. Just getting all the graduate students out and about and talking about LGBT issues, socializing, and expanding our networks, Ultimately, they say about the LGBT community that we're all family and we all have to kind of stand up for one another and advocate for our topics and our discussions and things like that. So that's really the point of that group outside of doing fun things together.
Excellent.
Marcel, did you want to add anything?
The one last thing I would add actually is there's an additional focus that a lot of students are prioritizing around what I will call equity and diversity issues, and trying to build awareness among faculty and at conferences around, for example, if we're talking about data in a biostatistics class, and if a faculty member says, hey, let's think of an example of binary data, there's discussion before people say gender is a great example because that's exclusive language, that's excluding language. And so a lot of students are working to build awareness and really working to implement training sessions around these kinds of things. And then beyond that one example, there's a lot of work that the Queer Trans group is doing with other student associations that represent diverse experiences around building awareness and training within Rollins School of Public Health. So I'd say that's an advocacy component in addition to professional networking and social.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, so real quick before we move into the open discussion, I wanted to show you guys some of our upcoming events that we have. You can see here we've got webinars coming up for each one of our different departments. So for those of you that have applied or been accepted or are thinking about applying, wherever you are in the process, I think these webinars would be great just to help give you some additional insight into curriculum, practicum, internships, just kind of what it's like in each one of those different departments. And for those of you that haven't decided, that are just starting the public health maybe research process, these are great ways to learn about which department may be a good fit for you. If you're in the Athens, Georgia area next week, I'll be presenting along with all other schools of public health in the state. So it'll be myself, UGA, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, and Mercer will all be doing a big public health in Georgia graduate school fair at UGA. We've got a webinar similar to this, but it'll be focusing on our minority student life. That's next week as well. And then for those of you that are admitted, we will be hosting admitted students receptions and kind of an alumni mixer on March 9th in Washington, D.C. and on March 10th in New York City. So for those of you in those areas, we hope that you could join us for that. And then the big one is Visit Emory. So for those of you that are admitted, we really want to encourage you to come to Visit Emory. It's our 2-day admitted student event where we really kind of showcase all that Rollins can offer. You get a chance to take campus tours, go visit, sit in on classes, meet your department, attend a reception with our faculty and our dean, our various student groups, host social events. We have a research and opportunities fair to learn about different jobs and research projects you can get hired onto. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. Did any of you guys come to Visit Emory?
I wasn't able to. I wasn't in the country.
Actually, yeah, I didn't go either.
Oh man.
But I was at last year's Visit Emory event, and I wasn't present for all of the events, but I was serving on the board of the Emory Reproductive Health Association that does a lot of student activities around reproductive and sexual health. I've been really heavily involved with that organization for the past year as GEMA co-chair, which is an endowed fund specifically around abortion mortality related issues. So I was out there promoting the fund. And I can tell you it's a really, really great event to come to, both because you kind of get a sense of the breadth of different academic and professional opportunities you get through Emory, but also because you get to talk to real students. Mm-hmm. We have an event every month on campus called Convos on Tap, with free food and drink, and it's literally just students get to drink and eat and hang out and talk to each other and, you know, talk to the faculty that show up, although they like to go home at 5, so.
But for Visit Emory, they tend to stick around.
Right, for Visit Emory, they tend to stick around, and we'll all be there, and I know that I got some really great questions from students last year, and a few of them decided to come after attending that event and talking to students there specifically, so you guys should come out.
Yeah, and we offer travel grants for that. You can email me directly. I'll be providing my contact information at the end of this. But you can email me directly about information on how to apply for a travel grant. And then we also offer, we have such very kind students here that offer up their houses to host students. So if you're concerned about costs between getting a travel grant and having a free place to stay, we try to mediate that as much as we can because we feel it's incredibly important for you to be able to have a chance to come and visit. You know, it's a scary thought of making a big decision like where to go to grad school if it's, I guess, sight unseen, for a lack of a better term. So we really try to do whatever we can on our end to help support your endeavor to get out here and see us. So with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our student panelists. And so far I'm not seeing any questions in the question sections themselves, but feel free to start putting them in. I know you guys can't be that shy, but I think we'll go ahead and turn it over to our student panelists. Let them introduce themselves. I think you've heard from most of them, but we'll go through, allow them to introduce themselves, and they can kind of give a little brief overview of maybe why they chose Rollins, what their overall experience has been like, just tips, anything that they feel is relevant to include or to say. So we'll go ahead and turn it over and let them start. Feel free to start wherever.
Hi, everybody. So you heard from me earlier. My name's Marcel, and I'm in Global Health. I'm a first year, so if you're here for Visit Emory, I'd love to meet you, or you can definitely email me. I was not able to come to Visit Emory, but I emailed a lot of these kinds of students who are on these panels, and it did play a factor in my decision. So if you're not available for Visit Emory, please don't hesitate to email me. I will get back to you so long as my biostats midterm isn't the next day. I'm also, like I said, involved with the queer trans group, which I'll give it away to Adrian.
Hey guys, I'm Adrian. I am also a first year global health, focusing on health and development. Before coming to Rollins, I was a Peace Corps volunteer serving in Cameroon under the youth development sector. I guess some of my reasons for coming to Emory, it's close to home, which was a big factor for me coming back from Peace Corps. I wanted to be close, so that's definitely a big benefit. Also, the Peace Corps community at Rollins is excellent. We have a lot of benefits for our Peace Corps volunteers, so if any of you happen to be a returned Peace Corps volunteer, that's a huge factor, and I definitely encourage you to look into that. I'm also one of the ambassadors as part of our team, so if you want to look into the blog, you can definitely find my email. I think Marcel's on there and Jordan are also on there. Kelsey, I'm not sure if you are. I'm not positive.
Maybe. You should add me.
Maybe. You can probably find all of our emails online somewhere, and I'm sure I'm definitely more than willing to answer any of your questions about anything outside of LGBT, living in Atlanta, Emory, any of that kind of stuff.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. You heard from me already. I'm a second-year global epidemiology student at Rollins. As I mentioned, I served on the board of the Emory Reproductive Health Association last year, which is a student group that organizes events around reproductive health, reproductive justice, and sexual health. I was also GEMA co-chair, which is one of 2 students that helped promote a really unique fund here at Rollins, specifically dedicated to abortion mortality-related research. It's the only thing of its kind that exists at any public health school in the nation to date. I think Johns Hopkins is trying to start up something like that, but that is actually a big plug for Emory if you're interested in that kind of topic. I also am an RPCV. I served in Rwanda between 2010 and 2012. And while I did not attend Visit Emory when I was weighing in on my different options for grad school, I did visit. I was unable to make the event, but I came about a week after visiting a number of schools, including UNC and Yale, which I was accepted to. And I came down here, and Emory really stood out because just in the hallways, you've got students talking about public health issues and genuinely impassioned about things like socio-contextual determinants, like impacts on minority health, and people are really looking to make a difference in the field here.
and I think it shows in our alumni as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that. If I'm not on the blog, my email is just my first name dot my last name, gelsey.hughes@emory.edu. So please feel free to reach out.
Hi guys, my name is Jordan Helms. I am a first year behavioral science health education student, which BC's probably the best department.
That's a fighting word.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, 3 of us are global. So.
We're all so busy doing other things. So I actually came into Emory sight unseen. I have a very interesting path of how I got here. Very long story. But I don't know, like, from what I could tell from online and like YouTube videos and other things, the atmosphere was very much student-centered and very much that you would have real connections with your professors and staff and faculty, which is what I really liked from my undergrad. And especially when this is a professional school and I'm trying to get out and have a career, this is really, really great. So that's what I'm doing now. Like, I work closely with professors in my department on research. I have an opportunity with the Georgia Department of Public Health and their HIV prevention office that I'm doing my practicum, job, and thesis through, which is very rare. And then I'm also on Emory's HIV Vaccine Trials Network's Community Advisory Board. That's something I did back when I was in Nashville for Vanderbilt. Do some HIV testing out in the community. So I do a lot of community outreach and community work, but I have been to a couple events from the reproductive rights group. I went to their symposium last semester, which was really great. It's a very great opportunity. And then, yeah, that's, if you have questions about community life, about Atlanta in general, about different research opportunities or LGBT life in Atlanta or HIV, I am more than happy to answer those.
Great. All right, let's see if you guys have posted any questions yet, or if hopefully you've stopped being shy. All right, let's see here. All right, y'all still don't have anything, so I guess if y'all don't have any questions, which is unusual, but we can wait just a couple of minutes and see if you want to post anything in. But if not, oh, here's something excellent. Okay, great. All right, so Martin is asking, so hi, my name is Martin from Kenya, but currently in Nigeria on an assignment. I applied last year for Global Epi at Emory Rollins, and I am still waiting for a response on whether I was successful. I'm hoping you mean, Martin, that you applied back in like the late 2015 and not late, like last year, like previous academic year. My question is for students, especially Gelsey, on different experiences they had during the application process up to the final admissions into the school. Any pointers or advice on the whole procedure in general would be appreciated. So I think Martin's just looking for, like, you know, the application process, any tips. That's what it sounds like. Hopefully we can kind of help you on that, Martin. So it sounds like you've already got your application in. So, and he is confirming, yes, late 2005, or 2015. Wow, that'd be really quite late. So just to kind of help kind of put any fears at ease, we are even applying in late 2015, you know, getting it in by our January 5th priority deadline for to be considered for scholarships. It can it still can be up to 6 to 8 weeks before, especially in the high application time, which is what we're in now. So if you still haven't received an answer just yet, it's not time to panic. You know, if you haven't received anything, I would say within the next 2 to 3 weeks, then maybe reach out to your department and see if you can get a better assessment. But maybe the students might have some insight on to how long it took them to find out their application decision, and any tips on what they did in between to help relax. Because, you know, once you submit your application, that's it. it's out of your control at that point, and that's really all you can do. We always tell students at that point to treat yourself, for those of you that may be Parks and Rec fans. So, because just getting it in is a huge accomplishment. I know these guys can certainly attest to going through the SOFIS process. So if you guys have any thoughts on the waiting, and if you can remember on how long it took and what that process was like for you guys. Because I don't know, were either one of you guys still on your RPC, your Peace Corps assignment? Yeah, and so that also can add another element of uncertainty, being concerned about, did I miss something and all that.
Well, I'm curious why this question was directed at me specifically. I don't know if it's because I'm a second year, but whatever the case, hang tight. Yeah. Oh, I see. Same department. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got more questions coming in, but just to get to this question. So I applied to 6 different graduate programs because I didn't realize how valuable my international experience was to the application. I got accepted to 5 of 6. Emory was one of the last schools that I heard from. I don't think I heard until the 3rd week of February. The very last school I heard from was Harvard, and it was the only one that rejected me. So, I mean,
they are missing out.
They are missing
No hard feelings, right?
That's what I thought,
They're missing out.
But in all seriousness, I was really nervous about the application process too. I remember it vividly, and and then the acceptances started rolling in for me, and I felt a lot better. And whatever Emory decides, if you told your story in your essays, I think you have a really clear shot, because I think that's what made the difference, is telling a story about having that diversity of experience in my background that I could bring to the public health program. So yeah, Emily's absolutely right. Just relax, and if you want to, you can reach out to students and faculty and kind of do that little bit of networking. But for right now, since you're still waiting on a decision, maybe just celebrate the fact that you got your applications in.
Yeah, and also the fact that Martin, that you were GLEPI. Keep in mind that means your application has to be reviewed by 2 departments. So it'll be reviewed by the Global Health Department, and it will be reviewed by the Epidemiology Department. So that it doesn't necessarily double the time, but it does, it does take maybe a little bit longer than someone applying to one of our more, I guess, traditional programs. It's not a joint program. All right, so next up, Wendy is asking, I'm coming from the New York City. Okay, great. You guys are finally starting to get not shy and ask questions. I love it. Keep them coming in. So Wendy's asking, I'm coming from the New York City area where people are generally very accepting of the LGBT community. So I'm having apprehensions about moving south. Can you speak to LGBT life in general in Atlanta? Wendy, thanks. That is the exact reason pretty much of why we wanted to have this. Yeah. So I'm going to turn it over to all the people here, between Danielle, our staff member, and our students, and let them address that question from their experiences.
Cool. So Wendy, I know exactly where you're coming from. I was based in Philadelphia before I came down here, and was considering school in Connecticut, New York City, and Baltimore. And I decided to go to Emory, and I remember, I think 24 hours after that, was like, what am I doing? And was blogging political climate of Atlanta. And, I don't know the affiliations of the people listening in, but I found a lot of blogs by people that I viewed as very much on the right side of the political spectrum, the very right conservative side, writing about how the gays had taken over Atlanta. So I was like, okay, maybe I made an okay choice. So yeah, I think that in general, especially in Philadelphia, before I moved, a lot of the queer people with whom I was working in Philly were saying that Atlanta is seen as its own gay mecca. There are so many clubs and bars and communities and initiatives and organizations happening in Atlanta. And it is, I think, in terms of being in the quote-unquote Bible Belt, I, in my time here, have seen a lot of queer people holding hands in the street, and it really is a very metropolitan city. And I too lived in New York City, so I feel fairly unbiased in describing. Nothing's New York City, but Atlanta definitely is very metropolitan, and I've only ever felt very welcomed and accepted everywhere I went. I don't know how others.
Yeah. As somebody who is actually from Georgia, I grew up about an hour and a half south of here. Something that we would always say is there's Georgia and then there's Atlanta. Atlanta, like Marcel, is its own little entity. It's its own little special place. Georgia, for a majority, is very red. Atlanta is very, very, very rainbow. It is very rainbow friendly. As Emily said earlier, Atlanta Pride is the largest pride in the Southeast. It's one of the largest prides in the United States, for that matter.
That's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's fantastic. I remember I went to Pride last year, and I saw protesters maybe once or twice, and each time I saw protesters, somebody had come up and covered them with like these big rainbow flowers.
Yeah, the big wooden flowers,
Yeah.
and then a whole group of like a biker gang came and like stood in front of, like parked in front of it and revved their engines to block out any noise they would make. It was the best thing.
Yeah, so it's definitely, Atlanta's definitely a community. We kind of stand behind our LGBT friends and allies and things like that. So just to kind of ease your concerns, I wouldn't be too concerned about the LGBT life here. As Marcel said, you know, walking through Piedmont, it's really strange not to see at least one same-sex couple holding the hands and walking through the park. I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything else.
So I'm from the South, and I moved further south throughout my career. So I started, I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, which, again, Louisville and Lexington are very liberal and very, they were one of the first cities in the South to have a fairness ordinance. And so I moved from Louisville to Nashville, which is the buckle of the Bible Belt. Went to a very religious affiliated school. There are not that many LGBT places, but it's, you know, it's okay. It's good. Like, you know, there was probably more protesters at our Pride and are here. We're in Louisville. But then when I moved to Atlanta, it's like, oh, like Atlanta, it's very open-minded, very respectful. I've never felt unsafe anywhere with partners or seeing other people, or there's just a whole really welcoming and warm community. Also, I understand a lot of things that are backwards in the South, so I get that. So if you are very apprehensive, it's a culture shock coming from Northeast or from the West or from another world or another country. The South is a very interesting place. But I don't know. I stayed down here for a reason, I guess. But it's very welcoming of not just only different sexual orientations, but gender identities and ethnicities, and like it's a big, huge melting pot down here.
I would agree that Atlanta is a thoroughly diverse international city, very, very metropolitan, and also very much in the South. So I agree that I've never felt unsafe when I've been out with someone of the same sex or anything like that. But on another level, you can still kind of feel that tension between living someplace that's in the Bible Belt and being in a very metropolitan area with a very loud gay community. And an example of that is when you go to Pride events, which I hope you come out here and do because they're fantastic. You do see protesters. And every year there's this beautiful thing that was kind of mentioned where people, you know, when there are protesters with hateful signage or trying to yell hateful things at the crowd, people kind of quietly come in with these big wooden flowers and cover up the signs or find other ways of covering up the noise, and it's sort of like protesting the protest. So that happens. But that's interesting because there's that tension. Similarly, I feel like Pride is an almost bigger celebration here than it was for me when I was living in California and Seattle, just because to be queer still is to be different. It's an identity that's very much celebrated, but it is an identity, and you know how you feel about that can vary on where you fit in the LGBTQIA spectrum. I'm really happy that there's more awareness events on this campus around bisexuality and acers and trans, because in a place where the LGBTQIA movement is still nascent and controversial in many ways, sometimes those other identities get lost in the shuffle. And so I know that sometimes I've had a hard time connecting to the community because it's not out in the same way as other factions are, but that's changing slowly. So, I mean, it's not a queer, unfriendly place to live, certainly, but it is different than being out in New York, in Seattle, in Los Angeles. So that's something I would say to not keep in mind, but be aware of when you're moving down.
Yeah, thanks for those honest assessments.
One other thing, I don't know if anybody touched on this, but for any of you who are LGBT and religious, there's a number of churches and organizations around here who are completely open to LGBT church members and things like that as well. So that's definitely something to consider.
And they come to Pride, and it's beautiful.
Danielle, did you have anything to add?
No, my experience was very similar. I went to, I'm from the South, and then I went north for grad school, and then I was convinced I would never come back to the South, unless
Look at you now.
Unless the Emory could convince me that Atlanta was different, and it was and it is.
Great. And we just had another student happen to be able to come in and join us. Shannon, you want to say hi real quick? And
Hi.
Departments and what year you are.
I'm a first year. I'm in global health.
Okay, great. So we're just reading questions right now and going through and answering. All right, so Samantha is asking, I found completing undergrad in the Deep South, it was either possible to find people accepting of the LGBT community or of minorities, but rarely accepting of both. Is there much involvement of minority students in LGBT activities at Emory? Anybody want to field this one?
So I think, first of all, it's a great question. And so if I'm understanding correctly, the question is there acceptance for somebody who identifies as queer and has another...
And yeah, identifies as both minority and
okay.
queer.
So that's a great question. I cannot speak to that experience as a white gay man. So that makes to make that clear. And then in addition to that, the queer trans group is working with a broader initiative at the Rollins School of Public Health to address issues of diversity and issues of equity. So we're working with the Association of Black Public Health Students and a number of other organizations that represent Jewish students, Latino students, to address issues of discrimination and bias reporting at the School of Public Health. In addition to that, Emily and I can absolutely connect you to, for example, Lynn Benoit, who's one of the presidents of the queer trans group. She couldn't join us today, but she is a woman of color and identifies on the LGBTQ plus spectrum and can speak more to that.
Yeah, we certainly have some, unfortunately we were limited today with students that based on their schedules could join us, but we certainly can connect any of you guys if you have any specific questions about specific experiences relating to that. We can connect you with students to kind of help, talk you through that or give you any insight from their perspective.
I was gonna say, also like Atlanta has their own Black and African American Pride.
Yes, that's right.
So through that and through a lot of health initiatives, there's a lot of more inclusion of Black, Latino, and persons of color in a lot of like communal events. So outside of the Emory bubble, if you wish. But as far as the diversity and things like that, I went to a very whitewashed undergrad school. So come here where people are from different countries, let alone like, I'm like, oh, there's not like 2 Black people here and like no Asian people or Latino people. Like it's a very, very representative of the Atlanta community here at Emory. And I feel like everyone is very inclusive and welcoming. So I wouldn't be afraid of that aspect.
And I would also say there's opportunities to get involved like in your academic pursuits. There's a lot of research here focusing on HIV in the Black queer community because that has the highest prevalence rate. So you can, as a community, we're working hard on making sure things are inclusive and meeting all the needs of all of our queer community, but also academically you can work on equality within the Atlanta queer community.
Quick plug too, there's a certificate program that you can choose to participate in as part of your degree that's called Socio-Contextual Determinants of Health, which is exactly as broad as it sounds. It's everything from, race, gender identity, sexual orientation, and how that should be measured in health data and how that impacts health outcomes. One thing I like about the certificate program is that you're encouraged to participate in colloquia and journal clubs around these issues And while there aren't student groups specifically focused on these issues, I've made some great connections with students and faculty that are engaged with issues of intersectionality through the certificate program. So if it's something you're academically interested in, there's a lot of opportunities for that as well.
Great. All right, so Leah is asking, hi, I've been accepted to BSHE, congratulations.
Yay, welcome.
And I currently do work around intimate partner violence in the LGBTQ communities. I'm hoping to continue and deepen this work through my studies. Can any of you speak to how many classes or opportunities are available for students to study or do work related to LGBTQ communities? That's hard to say. Try saying that 3 times fast. So we've talked a little bit about some of the research that's going on, but I don't know if Jordan has any specific insight being in the BSHE program, or if anyone else wants to chime in as well.
Well, first of all, welcome. I'm very glad to have you. Actually, today we had a presentation from a doctoral student, or PhD candidate. She's in her 3rd year doing work on IPV, intimate partner violence. So I just came from that class. While she is looking at heterosexual couples, I'm pretty sure that within her field and within her PI, her mentor, because that is becoming more common, more in our consciousness that there are same-gender couples that experience IPV. So that is definitely an opportunity. So I will give you a piece of advice that was given to me. So BSHE, there are 2 different kind of things you can do with your time here. You can take only content-based classes, which is really, really great. Or you can take skills-based classes with a few of your content areas, meaning that you're more marketable and can apply those skills to any different field. So for instance, I could spend all 2 years here taking classes on HIV and learn so much, and then get out and there's no jobs in the HIV field. There's only jobs in like obesity or TB, and I'm like, oh, I didn't get those skills. Or I can get all my skills that I want and I can apply them to any different thing. And most of your classes, you have to pick a different research topic anyway. So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting as many skills as I can in our field, in our department, of all of our like different kind of research methods and research classes. But then talking with professors who are all very open to sharing their interests and stuff. But there is definitely interest in research in IPV within our department and also in other departments as well.
All right.
In addition to that, there is a PhD student who is involved with the queer trans group, and I know that he is doing research on intimate partner violence among LGBT couples. His name's Casey Hall, and I'm more than happy to put you in touch with him.
Yeah, he'd be great to talk to. All right, Anna Irene is asking, hi, my name is Irene. I'm from the Dominican Republic. Does the Department of Behavioral Sciences waive GRE if candidate has an MD from a foreign country? So, Irene, they do not. The only way to waive the GRE is if you have an MD or a PhD, and within BSHE, if you have a master's degree in another program, but that does have to be from a U.S. institution. So otherwise, you would some type of standardized test score would be required. So that's it on the questions. Do our panelists have any other insights or final thoughts to wrap anything up before?
Don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah.
Did we tell them about our Facebook group?
Oh, yeah, there's a Facebook group.
Yeah, we didn't tell them about it yet.
What's the Facebook group?
Shameless plug, Shannon.
So there is a queer trans collaborative at Rollins. It is a closed group, but if you are queer and interested in connecting with queer and trans people at Emory, or at Rollins, at Rollins, please feel free to request membership into that group, and we can get you connected up to kind of learn more about the community.
Yeah. We can even send Emily the links to them and send them out to the registry.
Absolutely. And you can see my contact information here. If you want to be in contact with any of the students that are here on the panel today, shoot me an email and I will get you in contact with them or any of our other students. If you got a specific department that wasn't covered here today, like EPI or BIOS or something like that, we can easily put you in contact with one of those students to learn more about those departments. Danielle's information is here if you want to learn more about some of the resources that she was talking about out of Emory's main office out of Emory's Office of LGBT Life. If you've got a question about your application, you can see there where we've got the admissions account email as well. So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. We do have a survey. This is Rollins. We have to survey everything. So consider this your first indoctrination into public health. So it's super quick. I think it's like 5-6 questions, something like that. And that really this is our first webinar like this that we've done. So we want to kind of continue to build on this and improve it year after year. So it would be a huge help if you could take the time to fill that out for us really quickly at the end of this. It should pop up on your screen immediately following the webinar. So with that, I think we're going to sign off. A huge thanks to you guys for joining us, and a huge thanks to our panelists for coming in and helping address any of your questions. And again, feel free to reach out as needed. We're happy to help. That's what we're here for. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.